Welcome, house hunters. This is the first video tutorial. This is a follow-up to the email newsletter that was sent out a few months back regarding skip tracing. In the newsletter, I covered various tactics and websites that you could use to try to hunt down a homeowner of a vacant property. So what I typically do is when I visit a property in which is obviously vacant, besides sending a letter and looking up phone numbers, I'll try to speak to some of the neighbors. Sometimes they're pretty helpful as far as where the homeowner might be. They may have information such as phone numbers, or perhaps where they were last moving to, such as another state, which could also help narrow down your search. For this particular exercise, I will go ahead and use an actual person that I was hunting down, and I was actually able to find them versus the bank and other people that were, or other investors that were looking for this seller as well. So what I usually start off with, besides the tax records for the up-to-date mailing information, would be white pages. So we can bring up this website. The person's name is David Lawrence. So what I did was just a simple search. And it looks like they changed their site a little bit, but okay. So I did a simple search, and here was the same information that I was provided. This is in fact a homeowner, and unfortunately there is no phone number listed here. They did have the right street address. Unfortunately, as we know, when I went to the property, it was vacant, and after speaking to the neighbors, they didn't have any idea. They said that they saw the homeowner maybe once or twice and never saw him again. So I didn't have a phone number. I then went to the tax records. Now you'll notice that this tax records page covers all the counties in New Jersey. For anyone that is interested, you could find the link throughout the forums or throughout the training files. You could also just put in Monmouth Tax New Jersey and it'll give you the web URL. But this is a great, valuable resource. At any rate, so the property was in Morris County and it was in East Hanover, and the seller's name was David Lawrence. Here's the property address, and you'll see here that we have a different mailing address than that of the actual property address. So this was good news, and I went ahead and wrote my letter and I sent it to this P.O. box. Unfortunately, a few days later, this P.O. box apparently was closed and no longer valid, and it bounced back. So here I was with no neighbors, no phone number, or no neighbors that knew of his location, no phone numbers. The mailing address of the property, obviously, again, it's vacant. He was not residing in the address. I also left a letter in case he decided to come visit back on the door, and I also sent the mailer to this. So at the time, this property had a lot of equity in it, and I was pretty diligent in trying to move forward and finding this person. So at any rate, I was stuck at a brick wall per se, and so I decided to dig in a little further. So this is where you use other free sites such as, Intellius is a free/pay site. So they'll give you some information for free. If you want more detailed info, you can go ahead and pay for their search. At the time, Intellius was slightly different. They would give you more information than they currently do, meaning they would basically give more information that was helpful that I could use with other sites, and to help narrow it down. So what I did was this. I used Intellius, and I knew that this was the correct party versus David C. Lawrence. It was David V. Lawrence. Again, it had the property address. Here you could see past or possible current addresses. And so what you could do is you could use this information, go back to the tax records, plug in his name for maybe those counties or those towns. But here was something that was very interesting, and this is where you dive into a little deeper. So here I had potential relatives. Now this isn't always accurate, but it's close. So what I did was I actually plugged in August Lawrence, which was or is David's relative. So we plug this on in, and let's see if it's giving me the same information. So I actually went through each of these, and I would basically send out mailers. I was trying to find the new mailing address for perhaps his relatives, and as you can see here, it has David and Sarah, which was listed before, and it said Brick, New Jersey. So I went and I had to backtrack a little bit. I went to the tax records, and I believe I put in this person's name, and lo and behold, we had a potential relative mailing address. What I also did was I took this information here and I plugged that in White Pages, and you could search by address. So you could see by using certain information from certain sites and plug it into other sites, you can go ahead and narrow down and get the information you want, typically without spending any money. So right now this is all the free sites that we've been using. So I believe I plugged this in. I know I did send a mailer. I don't know if there was a phone number, an active working phone number, but this looks pretty close. And so here was a phone number that was provided. I don't know if that's still accurate, that was the actual one, but I did call, and I believe I left a message or got a hold of somebody explaining that I'm looking for the homeowner and perhaps that they were a relative. I also sent a mailer. I believe they may have called me once I sent the mailer to them, to that address. So that's how I essentially was able to track that person down, just by going above and beyond what most people will do, and that's just plug it in here and get the mailing address, and if that doesn't work, it bounces back, they move on to the next. Now that's fine if it's not a killer deal, but if there's a deal where there may be a lot of equity, or it's just a killer deal all the way around, I would go above and beyond and do similar to what I just did using the Tellius, White Pages, and there's even one other one, which is Zaba Search, and this one will give older phone numbers. Perhaps maybe you could call up numbers that were once legitimate numbers, and someone may answer and say, oh yeah, that's the person who I bought this house from, etc., etc. But using a collaboration of these sites, and again, going above and beyond, sometimes enables you to track these homeowners down, whereas other investors were unsuccessful. So again, I mean, just using simple sites, you have the tax records for New Jersey, you have White Pages. These two alone sometimes are enough. Zaba Search can be great because you can see it gives all potential numbers. Again, obviously this is a different seller. So what if we went down all the way to V? And so, I mean, so sometimes this one's not helpful, sometimes it is, and the other ones aren't helpful. You got to use a collaboration of all. And you can, even if it comes down to you are unsuccessful using the free sites, you could even purchase these records. I think they're like $15 or something, where you would actually be given potential phone numbers of the person, latest known address, etc. I have purchased from Intellius. I could say the latest one that I have used that I liked a lot, it was able to find me a homeowner that once again the banks were unable to find. I actually purchased a non-performing note, was TLO, and this one to me gave the most thorough information. It was a little more useful than Intellius. So at any rate, I hope this this tutorial was useful for you, gives you a little background information. I'd be more than happy to provide the links to these sites. I mean, as you can see through the tutorial, they weren't complicated. Most were provided through Google. But I hope this is useful for you guys. Helps you find, helps you dig in a little more for vacant homeowners, and hopefully we can go ahead and land more deals this way, whereas other people may give up after the first tax records or visit the property and their mailer bounces back. All right, best of luck, and looking forward to working with you guys.